Within each and every role player lives this homeless character who wants nothing more than to quiet the heartbeat of every living thing that stands in his way. Today we celebrate this all too familiar character with...
Well now, looky here. It's the Murder Hobo Show.
Let's get after it, Uncle Jay. Welcome to the Murder Hobo RPG Show. Proud member of the Tabletop RPG Network. This is episode 31, Skill Challenged. Like we are challenged with the skills. Recorded, what day is it today? February 24th, 2021. I'm one of your hosts, Gary, a.k.a. the Murder Hobo. And I'm here with the Bull Basher, the Toilet Thrasher, the Potty Pounder, Uncle J. Rass, a.k.a. Captain Colin. What is going on, my brother?
What's happening there, Concrete Carl? How you been, buddy?
Is that like a hot Carl, but with concrete? What is a hot Carl? I forget.
hot. We can't, I don't want to even. Well, you want me to tell you what a hot Carl is?
No.
Or, no, this ain't no family show, but no, you don't want to know what a hot Carl. This is what I heard, back in the day. It was not pleasant.
Now, I don't remember which one it is. But I think I know three of them. I know the Dirty Sanchez, I know the
It's
Rusty Trombone, and I know that there's a thing called the Hot Carl, but I don't know what any of them do.
yep. Yeah, it's best not to lay that out because I mean there's going to be different variations because in there could be the the south of the border variation, which is the Caliente Carlos,
Oh,
so
wow. Is that
you
hot and
know,
spicy?
and also I don't know what they call it because I speak just a little bit of Spanish, but I don't know what they call it out there with your neighbors out there in Quebec. I don't know. They call it like whatever Charles, whatever chalet. I think that's how they say Charles over there in France land.
Yeah. I thought a chalet was like a house on this in the Swiss Alps. Not like
Chalet, I think that's how a chalet.
yeah, who cares? We're right? That's the way I look at it. Friggin' Quebecers. Just kidding. If you're from Quebec, we love you. Just Jay's look on his face is priceless. Oh man, this is a podcast about role-playing games in any shape or size. And as usual, we're going to ramble incoherently in an attempt to sound like we know what we're talking about. We are an RPG entertainment podcast, and although you might glimpse a nugget of truth or inspiration from our many years of gaming experience, we promise that it is going to be completely unintentional. Also, please note that we stream this podcast live on Twitch and convert it to podcast audio format. If you want to see us do the show live, you can check us out every second Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. That's real people time from what I've heard. Or is it Eastern time real people time?
I don't know. I think there's more people out as far as I'm concerned, I think there's more people out in California is the most populous state. So I think there's a lot more people out in Pacific time. But then again, I don't know Eastern. New York was always the place that dictates everything, so that's why they consider Eastern time the big time. But that's 10 o'clock Eastern. That's bedtime for a lot of folks.
Wow, is it really?
Yeah, if you're working stiff like your Lamoureux and your other guys, got to get up early. Your Brownells and all the other guys that are out there humping it every day.
Well, I think that we've got the the salty, soft, sweet tones that would lull a few people to sleep. Right? I mean, I think pretty much
yes.
By the end of this show, there's a lot of people that wake up with like keyboard imprints in their face from passing out while they listen to us talk shit.
Oh, especially when we get into like the mechanics of a system, like we know what we're talking about.
But we don't.
It really means we're reading from a PDF.
Isn't that how it's done these days? I mean, come on. Hi, Belle. I see Belle is in the chat room. EST. New York to Miami are EST. Yeah, Jay's in not Taco Land. You're in Nashville.
Nashville, Nash Vegas.
Nash Vegas. That's fantastic.
Which is Central Time. And where Nashville is the weirdest time too, because we're about an hour and a half west of Eastern. And in certain areas we're about an hour and a half west from the Eastern time zone, and we fall in this weird border, and like it gets dark here early, but it gets lighter here early. Like the sun rises at like 5 o'clock in the morning in summertime. It's really weird here. It's unnatural. That's why Nashville's weird.
Wow. What are we doing tonight, Jay?
Man, I think we're going to talk about some skill challenges. Now, back in the day, now we didn't cover this last time because we ended up we said we touted it a little bit that we're gonna talk about it, but I said that they were one of the big mechanic changes that I'd seen like in the 15-year gap that I played from, or that I didn't play RPGs from, and so I wanted to cover that. And I think you've handled you've handled them in various systems before. So have I. I just want to talk and touch base about it and see what you like about it, see what you don't like about it. You know how it goes.
I do know how it goes. I've got something I think is going to be exciting that we're going to talk about a little later on. But yeah, we didn't get to skill challenges last week, and for all of those people that wrote and complained or said a thing to us, fuck off. This is my show, our show, right? And if we don't get to something, we don't get to it. We like hanging out with each other and talking RPGs, and you guys are just along for the ride. And sorry if there's little kids in the backseat that heard me say that word in such a mean and nasty way. I didn't mean it. Not really. I mean, a little bit.
He didn't. He's all about, Gary just, he comes across harsh, man, but it's mainly because he's, got bowel problems.
Ooh, wow. No, you know what? I'm not really big on the swearing. Every once in a while, I'll pop one out. Unless you get me mad. There's been a few times when I've been standing on the fender of my truck laying some serious curse words at people that have done stupid things to me in traffic. But I mean, other than that, it's pretty mellow, I want to say.
Yeah, yeah, say yeah. I agree.
Okay, well,
I
moving
agree.
on.
We don't go out of the way. Yep.
What you got going on, Jay? How's the 3D printer? How's little Gary? How's little skeleton Gary doing?
Oh, excellent, man. In fact, I have just I'm about due for another roll of the 3D print filament here because I spent the last week printing off this mountain terrain, that you build, like this modular terrain that you can build and assemble and eventually paint and set up. And I want to do that. And then right now, I just finished off my little and I'm sitting here looking up at them. This little villagers pack, this little fantasy villagers pack. And so far, I got a barmaid, I got a blacksmith, a butcher, an old crone, I got a grocery woman. Who's yeah, that's a guard, a map maker, a nun, this woman who's sweeping something, and an undertaker. So yeah, it's, I mean, 10 villagers, and they all look pretty cool. I'm going to try to paint these suckers, and hopefully don't screw it up too badly.
Yeah,
But
have
yeah,
fun with that. Did you see that funny meme that's going around that says it's got what's her name from the Titanic and it says paint me
yeah,
like your minis and she's
yeah.
got
Her eyes are all crooked.
her eyes are all googly and shit. And then I was on Reddit and I saw this guy post a picture of this little bard that he had done and I zoomed in on his eyes and sure as shit, man, he had the freaking googly eyes all going on. Other than that, it was a relatively good paint job, but eyes are not an easy thing to do. They are.
I ain't even going to try. I ain't even going to try to do like. I ain't even going to try to like do like little eyes and whatnot. I'll just like you can kind of make out something if you want to look at their eyes. Get a Barbie.
Wow. There's a couple of different ways of doing it. If you want some pro tips from a guy that's painted a gazillion eyeballs, you can
Well, okie dokie. I'll be happy to.
you can start by just doing the entire area white, like just blotch the paint in where the eyeballs were, and then the trick is to get a nice shape to them, to paint the skin tone on, because you're not trying to sort of fill in the eyeball shape. You're sort of painting up to the curvature. And even if you put the pupil on before you paint, right? So you would put eyeballs like white, and then put the pupils, and then paint the skin up around them. That's how I started doing it. Instead of trying to do the pupils last, I try and get them done first.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense, man. Like you may have to rattle off some videos
Now,
sometime about painting a mini.
and I will say one thing too. Like Lamoureux has said before, you can buy this chemical called Flow Aid, and it is freaking fantastic. Molecularly, it works like this: like when they take or make a pigment, the pigment itself is actually like just crushed up little paints into bits and dusts, right? And so, you can have weird triangular shapes, a weird like square shapes or rectical. You can have some good goddamn rectical shapes if you want. You know what I mean? I don't know what a rectical is, but generally the shapes are off and
I think you
weird.
had surgery on that, didn't you?
I think so.
On your rectical?
On my recticum. So the gimmick is like when you take paint and it has all these different little shapes and sizes and stuff like that, it doesn't move well. These little shapes don't roll together. So this flow aid stuff, it works like, sort of like Flowtech does in concrete. And what it will do is it's like you turn the paint from these weird jagged things into like a bowling ball bit, or not a bowling ball. You know those beds that you see in the kids' play center that are full of balls? And
Yeah.
that's sort of the best way I can sort of describe it is those little particles of dust, if they're weird or odd shapes, they get encapsulated by this chemical, this flow aid chemical that makes them round. So it's like now you're looking at pouring like round balls down a sled instead of like a pile of sand kind of a thing, right? It just makes it, and so it doesn't really change the consistency or the density of the paint, but it does make the paint flow smoother. I almost said smooth flower, but I don't know what's going on here today with my rectical.
That's awesome.
As
No,
you can
that's
tell,
awesome. Yeah, I'll have to Google that and look that stuff up, man, and try to do that. But yeah, I got a set of paint kit coming here like tomorrow or Friday, and I'm gonna go ahead and give it a whirl at least, on in these ones. And if I screw up, I'll just print me another one.
Well, this is true. Or you could just take the paint off it, like
Yeah, could do that. Just
right.
use alcohol or whatever, or just use
Man,
acetone or something.
you're printing these things for 10 cents a piece, man. You could take a hammer to it and just beat the crap out of it.
Yep, do that. Let the cat play with it.
John, you know
Uh,
what's much cheaper? Paper minis. Moving on. Um,
yeah.
and you don't even have to paint the eyeballs. What do you got going on? So you got your Star Wars game. How you still down with the Genesis? I see you defending it now,
Yeah.
like a Genesis
What?
paladin all of a sudden.
Genesis Paladin. No, it's just like it's just another system, and I mean, I don't see what the big deal was about, I don't know the division. It's not Savage Worlds and it's not Age. It's just a different system. It's just a little more narrative and it's more gimmicky. But I mean, you can have a lot of fun with it, and once you figure out the nuance of it, it's actually pretty easy to roll with. And just like if if you've done Savage Worlds, if you've done Age, like you and ICRPG, you know, if you get the nuance of it, you don't really have to crack anything that you don't have to crack the open the book with. Is pretty awesome, that you can just roll
Yep.
with and you can just go from there. But I do. Having said that, though, I do really like the fact, though, that when you kind of get stuck as to what to call narratively, like when you roll these threats and advantages and despairs and triumphs and whatnot. They have shit listed in the book, and just go ahead and grab them from there if you're stuck. And you apply them to different situations. And that's what they want you to do is they want you to apply these to different situations. So it's not a bad system. I mean, I think like Savage Worlds is still more awesome. I think.
Are you running is your game this weekend or was it last weekend?
Yeah, no, it's been this weekend because it's coming up this weekend. Because of the weather, where we were supposed to play 2 weeks ago, but we haven't because the weather's been really crappy here. In fact, it was like really like 2 weeks ago when it started to really take a turn for the worse. Like like we were supposed to, they were supposed to come out here. My sister was supposed to come out here. I'm supposed to show them how like all this 3D printing stuff is going on, and yeah, we weren't able to make it because we had the big ass snowstorm and everybody got hammered in Texas. So
So you didn't get any of that cold weather at your house?
Oh, I got a crap ton of it, man. We had like 5, 6 inches of snow and ice. I just didn't, since we're already locked down anyway,
Man,
didn't matter.
I've got seniority after 20 some odd years, so I took the week off. I'm like, just go around me. We don't pour concrete below -3. We live in because I live in BC. That sounds like, oh, you giant puss. You don't go out in low temperatures and stuff like that. But the reality is that we don't really ever have temperatures colder than -3, and anything below that, where you have to worry about concrete freezing. If it freezes, it never really sets up to its full strength. But because we don't get cold temperatures for long periods of time, in fact, it almost never goes below zero. It's usually between 10 and 0 over the wintertime. That's Celsius, right? So we're not prepared for it. Just like Texas wasn't prepared because they don't have snowplows because they don't get snow and stuff like that. But yeah, so I got some seniority. I didn't have to go to work. I stayed home, which is nice because this is the first year in about the last 5 where my nipples aren't bleeding. You're like, how does cold weather make your nipples bleed? Let me
Oh,
tell
I
you.
know. Oh yeah, you go out there. It's called chafing. Look
Right.
up chafing.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, my wiener was unfurled for the week. It wasn't playing like Groundhog Day. It didn't go hide on itself, and yeah, my nipples did not bleed. Bell's like, put some Vaseline
Oh
on them. You know what what I do is I just put Band-Aids on them. I like to buy those big X ones, for like fingertips and stuff like that, because I got those big pepperoni nipples, right? So,
Jesus Christ.
right? Yeah,
Oh
my nipples
Jesus.
are like 3 Smarties high, and they're like big like sausage pepper. So you got to get that. But man, try getting those suckers off. Let me tell you, it's better than chafing though.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, anything's better than that too, because you don't think about it. It's one of those things too. After you get home, you're like, Jesus Christ, what the hell happened? And the next thing you know, you got bloody nipples.
um, yeah. What else you got on the go? So
But
Star
as far as
Wars. and you wanted to talk about
Yeah,
something
Star
else.
Wars. Yeah, so I got Star Wars going on, and this is, when I got some ordered some other minis from Miniature Market just to use. I ordered some woolly mammoths because I wanted some, this, in the scenario they're going to have like this big, a few woolly mammoths like chasing them. So I did all that. So I'm kind of excited, to have all this shit kind of laid out. But yeah, also too, it's our buddy Eric Lamoureux. It's he's announcing it's the fifth anniversary of his beloved Just Insert Imagination. I guess plug and play adventure. I guess this might be. I don't know if this is the first one, but it's the one that brought me to the table, and that's Forget About It. And he threw the offer out to for a few, for us to play it this weekend. Since he was going to run it, he's changed it and updated some. So instead of it having like static characters, it's got pre-gens that you can, kind of, float around with it. You can assign a name or gender and whatnot. So, yeah, I want to check it out. I've read it. I've never ran it. I don't, no, I've never ran this though, but I've always wanted to just like see it done before I decided to do it.
Man, you've never run Forget About It? It's got to be one of
No,
the
I haven't.
easiest games to run, and the premise is so simple.
No, I've never run it. I just it was one of those things that never, like, I had to really talk the one group of players into playing Wise Guys, and once I spun it a certain way with the Nazi killing and everything like that too, they were down with it. But no, I think I probably should have spun it like used this and that sort of scenario. But no, I've never ran it or played it.
Man, speaking of Nazi hunters, what was the name of the show with what's his face in it there? Where
Yeah,
they were,
Al Pacino. Yeah, Hunters.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
hunters.
what this. My Wise Guys. Yeah, it was essentially my Wise Guys game was based off of that.
There's got to be a season 2 of that show coming out here pretty soon, I think.
Yeah, I was looking that up too because it was February, I want to say last year when it came out, but everything's on hold because of the pandemic and whatnot as far as like shooting, so it may be delayed some. But hopefully, yeah, I would like to see a second season of it.
Wow, Schmancy, that was a good show. I really liked that. I did not see that coming at the end, I can tell you that much.
I did not either, and I can usually spot that sort of thing. And I was like, you son of a bitch, you got me.
All right, I'm going to smash this button over here. Oh, wait a second. I got to do something else over here because it's one of these two. I'm going to hit all three of them, and then I'm going to hit this one here. All right, we bailed on that hardcore. Like that was like we're done talking about that. Let's get over to some other things. Stuff we think is cool. That's where we're at right now. The things that we found on the internet over the last week or so that we think is pretty sweet. Starting with Jay, what do you got for me, bud?
Man, I should have never figured out how to learn how to do a search for something in Kickstarter. Worst thing I could have ever figured out. I
How to
typed
throw
in,
your money away?
yeah, pretty much like bye bye, bye bye savings, just bye bye, retirement. That's all my money's going into, into my hobbies. But I can't help it, man. There's so much cool stuff out, especially when you get a 3D printer to facilitate your dorkiness. But yeah, as soon as I went ahead and went on a Kickstarter just for the hell of it, looked at 3D printing and games, and now we got all sorts of stuff, man. We got 3D scan we got 3D scan trees. I think I actually may have bought these like a long time, a while back. But yeah, these nice 3D printed trees, and we got animals, companions, and mounts. You know, and these are all these are Kickstarters for the 3D print files, the STL files. That's what they use. And man, they have some really cool stuff on here. And it's like, yeah, what am I going to go ahead and donate to? But the thing about it is just like, we already know this, but there's a glut of fantasy stuff. And what I'm looking for is like the non-fantasy stuff. I would like to see, I would totally back one where it's just like, you know, you know, people in the town, just like regular ass,
Yep.
modern day folks.
Right.
You know?
There's so much friggin' elf stuff. It's disgusting. I had such a hard time trying to find, and believe it or not, there isn't even tabletop simulator models, like Western models. Everything that's in there. It's a good thing I use paper minis, but even finding paper mini stuff for Westerns, man, try and get that stuff into Tabletop Simulator. But yeah, you're talking Westerns, modern, all that kind of stuff. Everything just becomes, because you can import paper, basically that kind of stuff, right? You can import that into Tabletop Simulator, but you can't find 3D Western models. There might be, the odd one here or there. So good luck with that. If you find some, let me know.
Well, that sort of thing. That's kind of like the. I see that there's a hole in this market here for a lot of like modern, and like cyberpunk you can find a lot of, but I don't classify cyberpunk as modern because that's a whole separate genre. I see a glut of, or just a big hole where or just a big lack of, straight up modern, you know, modern ones, and that could range from 20th century to today. You could use some for. I don't know if you really use minis for Call of Cthulhu, but I would. I mean, hell, it's cool. I would use minis all the time in any game. But like if you want to, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, even in the sexy time bedroom games, huh?
Maybe I do, and maybe there's already a mini something there where they're hanging around. You don't know. You don't know my life.
I don't know.
But yeah, man. Yeah, I really see that there's a big hole in this market, man. And so I've been entertaining the thought, and that's why I bought a new PC or whatever. I think I might start checking this out. And like, there's some starter software to get started on. I think I might start trying to design some of this stuff.
Yeah, Daddy Warbucks bought himself a new hot rod.
Yeah, well, I needed to though, man. My old work laptop was crapping out, and I was just using it for everything too. And so I just decided, yeah, I'm gonna get a new one. I might as well just keep the work, keep all my personal stuff on my own rig and let the work stuff, keep all my work stuff separate.
Right? You work in IT, and even though you work in IT, your computer eventually gets bogged down with all those like porn cookies and stuff. You just get rid of it.
Yeah, you have to, man. I mean, you eventually have to torch the damn thing.
So nobody finds what you're looking at. Oh, that is sweet. So how many Kickstarters did you back for 3D minis?
Oh, I haven't backed any yet because I'm still, like I said, it's still just a bunch of and still I just see a bunch of fantasy stuff. I mean, granted there is terrain, and I see a lot more modern terrain than I do minis, but maybe I'm not looking hard enough. But yeah, what I'm looking for, man, if I could find like straight up like, townspeople, you're like modern day looking people, I would grab that in a heartbeat. And even some super stuff too. You're more apt to see like a lot of that stuff folded in with like super stuff because there's always civilians and supers games that you usually have to rescue and everything for the most part. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what I got to start doing is like start pushing like some supers minis or something. Now, to tell you the truth, what I really want to do is I really want to make some Rifts minis, but not like call them Rifts, call it lifts or something, Instead of glitter boy, call it shiny guy, Because if
Wow.
you look on if you look on some of these places, they get around like, using instead of Jedi, they say Mystic Knight. So,
Yeah.
they get around copyright. So that's what I'll do.
You just call him Shiny Man.
Yeah, Shiny Man.
Boy. Reflective Man.
Battle bot instead of combat cyborg. It's easy.
Anything else you think is cool that you found this week?
Yeah. So, like I said, I just found like if it's not Kickstarter, there's friggin' Patreon. So there's other ways that you can throw some stuff out there. So I found like this big repository for, Patreon, guys that are set up guys and gals that set up Patreon. So for that are printing off their own terrain and miniatures. So that's another fun thing to look at. But let's see here. Another thing that I want was did you happen to get actually did you they've updated some supplements for Rifts, which made me happy too because I remember with the deluxe set, you got 2 sets of archetypes, and I was just perusing my stuff there the other day, my Rift stuff, because I still like reading that quite a bit. And I was wondering where the second set of archetypes was going to come out because we got one. I was like, really, because I really like the way that these have been done. I really like the way that everything's laid out, and the fact that it's got a nice little what is it? They have a nice little like advancement track. Like if you want to advance it, this is the stuff you should take. So I thought that was kind of cool, and so I was excited to get that we got more revised supplements for Rifts, and they've added some more stuff to it too. So I was excited about that.
Yeah, I know that they put in the world's map or whatever it was now has like layers and stuff like that, so you can take off certain things, which is pretty cool. I guess that's kind of for like a VTT thing and stuff like that, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, some of the Rifts things like there's robot armor for vehicle or vehicles and stuff like that. Grimoire psionics, mega powers, backgrounds, heroic paths, and stuff like that. Man, you know that my Rift stuff is still across the border for like over a year.
That's sad, dude.
Makes me want to cry. Yeah, the Savage Rift's revised map of North America has been updated with selectable layers to help GMs find a few things or keep a few things secret from players, which is kind of cool. That's pretty sweet. Man, I gotta play some Rifts. It's on the list. It's on the docket. I hope I live to be 100 because I'm not, and they don't ever come out with another RPG because then I'll actually be able to play the things that I have instead of all the things that I own or buy. Bell says Chrome Dude. That's too funny. All right. Things that I found cool in the community. There is a Savage Worlds Ghost Ops. Oh, I already got it open. So Ghost Ops is basically like military strike and stuff like that. I didn't back this and I don't own it, and I've never really played it because it's just, I do elves. I do elves well. This is done by Feral Games. Laveru had mentioned it today. But their Ghost Ops 2, I can't remember what it's called, Second Strike or something like that, is it's coming out for Savage Worlds. It's going to be a Suede conversion and some new stuff that they're putting into it. We were talking about this before, and although this is very cool, this is very military, straightforward, no fancy stuff, no weird psyop stuff. You're just basically going in, taking out the terrorists kind of a thing, and, it's very Tom Clancy Rainbow Six. When we played it superhero style, which was actually really sweet.
I might revisit that again. I might do that again. I actually had a lot of fun with it. I might see if we could do something like that with you. I like, and if I do, that's the thing too. I can't do anything like military to me because I was in the Army for 4 years, and and then 4 years. Well, actually, 4 years total. I'm not interested in playing just a straight up war game because that's what I did for 4 years. It's got to be something, like Weird Wars. Weird Wars 1 and 2, and was it Toward Darkness appealed to me, but not. Because you're fighting zombies and weird stuff, and you're fighting big creatures, and I think that's kind of cool. In addition to what's happening in the midst of the chaos, but yeah, just straight up like playing like Rainbow Six or playing like Call of Duty in an RPG. Nah, I ain't interested.
Yeah, it's not really my bag either. But this one comes with SWAT teams, special agents, private military contractors, special forces. There's a bunch of stuff going on. That's kind of core rules.
That's kind of interesting though, because you could use that, if you did have like a cop game and you wanted to use SWAT tactics or whatever. So, I'm sure there's always something you can glean out of something, and use it as a toolkit, which is awesome. So maybe that's something if you want to use it, if you need that as a toolkit, then maybe that's something to look at.
Yeah, we're not here to yuck anybody else's yum. If this is up your alley, this is where you're at. I wouldn't mind playing in something like this. In fact, I really do like playing XCOM, but then you're shooting aliens and stuff like that. But you're still part of a military ops team and stuff like that. You just get cool laser guns and sweet shit like that, right? Go blast some aliens. So yeah, that's coming out. That is Ghost Ops Second Strike, Modern Covert Operations 2nd Edition. They've almost made their stretch goal 19 days to go. They're at 9,651 Canadian smackers, which is about $3 American.
Something like that.
Right? You could get some biscuits and gravy in America with that kind of money.
Yeah, you could. Probably not great biscuits and gravy, but you can get them.
Not great ones. What else we got? Jay, are you a fan of Ravenloft at all?
I don't know what Ravenloft is. Actually, I'm lying. I've never played it though. Like I said, I'm not like a D&D guy. However, though, there are two settings that have really appealed to me as far as like D&D goes. One is Ravenloft and two is Eberron. And so when I caught wind of this, I was like, ooh, this is kind of exciting.
Mm-hmm. So I think the latest book that's coming out, the latest D&D book is going to be the Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. not 100% sure on that because I'm not really following D&D too thoroughly anymore. But if they come out with this and do it the way that I know Barovia to be, Ravenloft, I guess, and I gotta think about what I'm saying here because I think Barovia just might be the area where Strahd is at. I think that's his little area. But the world of Ravenloft or the realms of Ravenloft are like a bunch of pocket dimensions that are connected by mists and stuff like that. Back in the day, 30 years ago, they had a whole set of D&D books or Ravenloft books that came out. The first one was Strahd. The second one was all about the night of the Rose Lord Soth. But then there was a bunch of other cool ones that talked about the Vistani and stuff like that, the gypsies and there's one on some like mummies and stuff like that, and you know, there's just a bunch of cool and each one of them took place in their own little world, right? And so I think that what they're going to do is Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft is going to be like a full campaign setting. I think from what I've heard, they are going to delve more into what's called the Domains of Dread. And so they're going to come up with, I think, 30 different areas that you can go into. So you'll, instead of just having Strahd, you'll have hopefully they'll put in Soth, which will be cool. And then you can go there and mess with Soth and fight in his little area and stuff like that. So that's going to be sweet. I'm excited for that because the Ravenloft books were actually really good. I really like, in fact, I like the Soth one so much, I got Lord Soth tattooed on my arm. I don't know if you've ever seen that or not. But that's right off the cover of Night of the Black Rose. It was just an awesome
I've heard you
book,
talk
dude.
about them. Yeah, I've heard you talk about that. No, that's awesome, man.
Fan-schmastic. The other thing on the docket is Green Ronin. I'm really interested in the age system and playing some age. I don't know what it is about stunts, but it just gives me a bit of a nerd boner. Do you know what I mean? Like it makes my little crotchety crotch go ba-doing a little bit.
You know what it is? You know what it is about stunts? Because it forces you, once you do them, it's sort of like everything else is sort of optional in the game, like aiming, these call them optional rules as far as, or, optional combat rules. But no, it's because the stunts actually force you to use them, or like, or give you that idea of like, hey, here you go,
Mm-hmm.
Now or it gives you the ideas like some stuff that you would never thought about before. This is what you can do. Like, what is it? There's that one skirmish, the skirmish stunt where you can actually move somebody, move somebody out of the way, or you can actually use it to move somebody. So you could totally like narrate that, in a really cool manner. So yeah, they're pretty awesome.
Yeah, and if you roll really well and you get like 6 stunt points, you can do a bunch of things, man. You could throw your shield at somebody and knock them prone and cast a spell really quick, and you know what I mean? Do a bunch of multi-action kind of things, which is pretty sweet.
Yep. Let your buddy attack. Do a tag team option.
Yeah, you can move him up in the initiative and whatnot. Are you caught up on The Expanse? Did you watch The Expanse?
No, I haven't watched any of it, man. I know, I suck. I'm done. I know this marriage is over.
Yeah, cancel
Jay.
Just cancel Jay.
Cancel me. I should have watched it all. No, actually, what was it? No, I've been screwing around like with the printer and stuff and whatnot. But no, I'm actually going to sit down because they're all out. I'm going to sit down and binge them all. Like starting like Thursday and Friday.
So while your printer is printing, doesn't it take like an hour to print a thing?
Oh, it takes longer than that. Hell, man. Like I said, it took me a week to print off printer terrain. In some senses, it just depends on how big it is and whatnot. And I had a bunch of different pieces and stuff. So yeah, I can watch that stuff while it's printing or whatever. But I got to screw around with it and blah 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 and like tweak it and.
You got no excuse.
No, I know.
You got no excuse.
I know.
So Green Ronin is doing. They're gonna on their website. You can go to their and see what they're doing for 2021. So some of the titles that they're going to be releasing are going to be they've just released Time Traveler's Codex for Mutants and Masterminds. Never really played that. I'm assuming that's just Dungeons and Dragons, but you got like some mutants and stuff like that and some smart people. Or is that superheroes?
That's superheroos, man. That's the one that's like the big superheroes game. And it's fun, but it's crunchy. I mean, it building actually not. Actually, the play is pretty. the play is a little weird, but it's D20 and it is cool. But I'd rather do it in Savage Worlds, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, that's when I started playing Supers. Is when you started running this through Savage Worlds Superheroes Companion. We did that little adventure, and man, once that happened and you started picking your skills and stuff like that, I was like, I'll play Supers again. That was a lot of fun, but it was just never into it.
That's why I cannot wait for the new one.
See,
yeah, I know you don't think about it until.
Right. I'm one of those dolts that basically got into playing Dungeons and Dragons and never looked sideways. Put the blinders on. Let's play D&D all day long. They are coming out.
Well, there's enough to keep you occupied. There's plenty to keep you occupied in D&D. It's not like there's a dearth of product.
This is true. They are going to come out with Ships of the Expanse, which is going to be pretty sweet. There was just an Expanse bundle, so that'll be coming out. And they're going to do a reprint of the game's rulebook later in the year, it says. So I guess we're not going to see this Modern Age Mastery is what it's called until the end of the year. Fantasy Age Core Rulebook, Book of Fiends, and Voice of the Mount, and an epic campaign for Blue Rose RPG. So that's coming out.
I've got that. So I've got Epic of the Mount or Envoys of the Mount already pre-ordered. I'm just waiting for. I got it on PDF. I'm just waiting for the hard copy once that gets published. And also too, I see in this article that they talk about Sword Chronicle a lot now. The first actually mutants I got in the Mutant Masterminds and a Song of Ice and Fire RPG at the same time, and that's the Game of Thrones RPG. And since they had the license for a while, but then they lost the license, so they ended up converting the system to something called Sword Chronicle. So that's an interesting system. It's not an elf game per se, but it is a feudal medieval like role playing game system, and it's got like this cool little like essentially it's got social battles in it, like you would do in like you would see in something like Game of Thrones when like the Lannisters and all those guys are plotting some shit behind the scenes. So it's got that kind of mechanic. So it's kind of interesting.
Nice. The last thing on the list is, speaking of Mastery Editions, ICRPG 3rd edition is now going to be dubbed the Master Edition. It will be a clean, revised, compiled edition to really capstone the system. Hankern says that he's posted a few of the new layouts above. This is Core Worlds and Magic all in one book. So Core, Worlds, and Magic, all 3 books are going to be combined into one book with every sentence revised and improved, which is good because that fucking system needs it. I have been playing ICRPG every second week now for the last year to see if it was campaignable or if it was more of a one-shot. It turns out it is, but there are some things that you can tell that just throw the system for a loop. Like one of our players has this Zill armor. Zill armor basically works like this. Anytime somebody attacks you, you add +1 to your armor if they miss. So, right? He's got a 13, 14 armor class, and you miss him 3-4 times. Now it's like, it's 18, 19, 20. There was a point at which he was like, he had a 26 armor class. And I'm like, a natural 20 hits you no matter what. Like, you're not getting away from it. But
right.
It's just a thing that, I don't know, obviously it didn't get play tested or it's used in a different way, but he's literally only had this armor for, a week kind of a thing. Or, you know what I mean? Like he got it maybe 1 session, 2 sessions ago, so it's not like I can smash it and take it away from him. And then he's got this character that anytime he takes a turn, anytime he takes a turn, he gets to roll a d6. And then he keeps that number, and when he casts a spell, it's called the Ring of Memory something or other, he can take one of those d6s that he rolled and apply it to the spell number that he casts. So if he needs a 14 and he rolls a 12, he can just reach over, and let's say he rolled a 2, he's like, I'm going to expend this dice. And so it's almost as if it's like an I win button. And I'm finding as the game progresses, not only is there more I win buttons, but I'm really starting to understand how come some people really need to have shit worked out to the letter of the law so that there is no discrepancy or misunderstanding. There's a bunch of spells that are vague and stuff. So I'm super excited for this, man. This Core Worlds Magic all wrapped up into one. There's some things that happened in Core that were changed in Worlds, and then he added magic after. So yeah, that's going to be sweet. And that's it for my cool stuff this week that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, man. No, I've actually been reading a little ICRPG because I think it's great for story or campaign planning and whatnot, and great for encounter planning. It's got some good ideas and everything. But yeah, just reading that too, man. I can see with all that loot based, man, that there's going to be some sort of if you just throw loot at people, man, you're this is what's going to happen. They're going to get this one crazy ass magic item that invariably might break the game.
Yeah, it's a weird. I think that might be a thing for a show topic at some point in the weird future. When you come across an idea or a thing that you can tell is blatantly broken and how to deal with it. Because I can't slap Charles in the head, and I gave it to him because we play remotely, right? So I can't really duke him out through the frickin' computer. Oops, I hit the button by accident. But anyways. We're done with that sound. I'm gonna smash this button over here again, and we're gonna cruise right on into the next deal, Jake, because we're getting to skill challenges. I feel pressure.
We're doing it.
I feel pressure.
No, we're doing it. Oh, we're doing it. Smashing the button. Smashing the button. Smashing the button. Am I supposed to hear anything?
Yeah, I did smash the button. It was pumping out to B1. I didn't pump it out to B2, so you didn't get to hear it.
Gotcha.
Is that why you were singing along there? Or you're like, smash the button, smash the button? I hope it went out. If not, I'm sure somebody will tell me. Or I'll fix it in post. I'll fix it in post!
All right.
Skill challenges. Jay, this is something you wanted to talk about. You wanted to bring up, so I'm going to let you take the reins on this bad boy and get after it, mister.
Oh, yeah. This will be quick and painless. All right, so I took a 15-year gap between playing RPGs from 1994 to 2009. Through no fault of my own, I would have played them. But yeah, the one thing that I noticed though, it was kind of hold on just a second. Talk for a second.
Sure. Is your cat getting out of control? I feel like your cat's getting into a thing over there. I saw him jump up and get in your face. Is this the new one? This is the crazy new cat, right?
Yeah, this is Kenny. He just I didn't give him enough attention last night, so he wants to hang out with Daddy today.
Oh,
get on the desk. He's not allowed up here on the desk.
He's the same color as your beard, ginger.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we got him.
I usually don't buy things.
He really thinks I'm his dad.
Oh, really? Fucking Kenny. I'll tell you a funny story about Kenny.
Yeah.
Let me tell you my funny Kenny story. When I was a kid, 20-ish, I used to hang out with this guy Kenny. Great guy, but we called him No Neck Kenny because he literally didn't have a neck. Anyways, he would always ask if you wanted a thing. Hey man, you want to stop and get a Coke? And I'd be like, no. And he goes, yeah, you do. And I'm like, no, I don't. Hey man, you want to go do this? I'm like, yeah, not really. He's like, oh, yeah, you do. So we were coming back one time from Vancouver Island, and old No Neck Kenny looks at me and he's like, he says something to me. You want this cheesecake? And I said, no, I don't. And then he's like, yeah, you do. And I forgot my joke, so we're going to move on.
Thanks, man.
All right, tell me some skill challenges. That was a long way for nothing.
All right, buddies. So you played 4E, didn't you?
Wait a second. I just remembered what I was going to say. So we're on the ferry on the way back, and I didn't finish my hamburger. I didn't eat all my French fries. So I said to Kenny, Kenny, you want these French fries? And he goes, no, you don't. And I said, yeah, you do. He just looked at me like, what? Anyways, back to skill challenges. Now it's not funny.
I gave you a pity laugh anyway. Be happy.
I appreciate that. It's the same laugh I get when I take my clothes off around my wife. Hey, speaking of which, we got to go back to this 3D printing thing. Have you printed out like a realistic 3D image of your wiener yet?
No, I usually use that with scrap. The scrap filament will take care of that.
Oh, really? I'd like to make like a life size image of my wiener and print it off because I think it'd make really cute earrings.
Yeah, that's what I was. That's what I'm about to say. Yeah, might make a nice cufflink or something.
Right, little life size little wiener cufflinks.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I'm not editing this out. I'm just letting you know. Carry on. Skill challenges. Let's do it.
Alrighty. So, you played 4E, didn't you?
No, it was the one edition that I did not play.
So it's my understanding that this is where this was all born out of. Maybe before, maybe not, but skill challenges is sort of like the best way I can describe them is like that like a layered or a tiered challenge that that the group is presented. When they have to meet a certain goal. Like it. Usually it involves like one or two or three different tasks or skills to check and everything like that too. And it was really that was sort of like it really kind of like opened my mind to like this whole new mechanic because back when we played back in the the 80s and 90s, man, it was all just one roll, pass or fail. You know. And so
Right.
this gives you like a different, this at least sets you up for something a little more different. Like, okay, you guys are going to try to break into the bank. Oh, you got a 6 on your stealth roll. No, you got the cops, got you, something like that. So yeah, that was never fun. So, like this is what you got to do to get into the bank. This is what you got to do to break open the vault and everything like that too. And now they have some sort of mechanic that's sort of designed to do something like that too. And I've really gotten a kick out of this. Now, apparently, like as far as Dungeons and Dragons goes, they would give you, you would give it, you're given a DC, difficulty, class or whatever. This, you got to meet this number when you roll, and you got to do this so many times. You got to meet so many successes before you net so many failures. And so I think that's how it was done. That's pretty damn genius if you think about it.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to read it right now because I did look it up because I texted the other day. Like I have PDFs for 4th edition, and so I was looking it up and I was looking up skill challenge or not skill challenges. I looked up skills. Now I actually like how they run the skills. Now that I was reading 4th edition, I'm like, hey, this is actually pretty sweet because there's variances on certain things like athletics, and if you're when you're running them and stuff like that, you can get bonuses and then you know what I mean. It's not just make a check and succeed. It's built-in variance throughout it, right? If you succeed on point, you do your thing. Over 5, you do it with an advantage, kind of a deal, and then under. You fail under 5, you kind of fail miserably, and something bad happens. And they do that for all their skills, like athletics, stealth, acrobatics, and stuff like that. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. But then now it turns out you're not even talking about that, and I read it for nothing. Thanks, Jay.
Yeah, okie dokie, I guess.
It was on page 178, and my 72-page rule count.
Yeah, but you can always use Control F and go page up. You don't have to read them in succession. You can just look for something, can't you?
I went out of bounds for you, mister. I broke the cardinal rule. If you can't say 72 pages, you ain't doing it. Pound salt.
You ain't doing it for me, man. You're doing it to the ones of listeners that we have.
Yeah, for that guy. I'm doing it for Chuck. That's who I'm doing it for.
Yeah, we're doing it for Chuck. We're doing it for old Chuck. He cares.
And Jason listens to the show too.
Yeah, Chuck and Jason.
Right? Maybe Charles.
I don't think John.
Yeah.
John
Marlon
maybe
doesn't listen. The only reason Marlon listens to this show, and you can suck at John Marlon, is because we told him that we said he could suck it. And then he started listening. So right? So you can suck it or just suck it. Or suck it its sakes.
Oh, that tickles me.
So, running a skill challenge, it says it's one of the best kept secrets of 4th edition D&D, and I feel like that is a true statement because I am not aware that skill challenges were a thing that came in 4th edition. And it says they were awesome, but poorly explained.
Yep, that's what I'm thinking. And apparently that's the same sort of thing. It kind of like dovetailed into maybe they were explained a little bit better in like Star Wars Saga Edition, which was from 2000 2010. That's when Wizards of the Coast had the Star Wars license, and they created their own skill challenges too and whatnot. I think this is where I was first kind of aware of it because I think I started looking at Star Wars stuff, because I always gravitate towards Star Wars stuff anyway. When I was getting back into the hobby, I think this is where it kind of piqued my interest. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
In Star Wars, is it run the same way? You basically got to do so many successes past a certain point.
Oh yeah, you got to do. Usually you have to net like so many, like 6 successes before you net like 3 failures or something to that degree, and that's how they have it sort of balanced.
Now, this Star Wars that you're talking about, is this the FFG dice system or the Saga
No,
with the
no,
D20?
Saga edition. Yeah, Saga edition, the D20.
Oh, cool. I'm going to have to look into that. We are playing that at Jason Anderson. Speaking of which, I'm hoping to get Jason on the show. I'm not sure. He's not very well. It's not that he's not technically savvy. He just kind of hates computers and the internet and anything that has any kind of a battery in it. And so, yeah, I'm going to try and get him on the show because I think we're going to do a show about owning a gaming store. If I can talk him into coming on the show, the ins and outs, what it's worth, what it costs, how much
That'd
money
be
he
sweet.
makes, how many yachts he owns and Porsches and stuff. Because there's money to be had in gaming.
There has to be. Look at look at all these handsome guys.
Is that what it is? Handsome dudes.
Gamers, look at gamers pool. But I don't know. Like there's a lot better looking people in the hobby now. I will say that.
So these skill challenges then for 5th edition and Star Wars Saga, they're both run the same way. You got to beat a pool, or you need so many of them. The Expanse, does it run the same way?
Right.
It says advanced tests. Now, are these things built the same way?
Now then you start getting into other systems, and this is like I said, I'm not 100% sure whether or not this was born out of 4E and 5E proper. But and then in Saga, for whatever, I actually just say like D20 for the most part. But I do know that I've seen it happen, and I've seen them pop up in other systems. And it was really Savage Worlds was the first other one that I'd seen it pop up too, and with the dramatic tasks and everything. And I was like, oh wow, that's kind of neat. I was really, really, really kind of sort of like, this is when I knew Savage Worlds was special. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then started looking into the age system. And in fact, we could talk about a little bit more about dramatic tasks, but I linked the famous dramatic cake episode to the Wild Die podcast. I think that'll just cover everything you need to know about that.
Well, I think that, the dramatic cake episode, when you go listen to it, you're really going to realize how you go about doing a dramatic task. I think it encapsulates perfectly how you do a dramatic task among a group of people, right? I mean, they had to make a cake. It was for school. If they didn't make it, they were going to fail. And so, yeah, you've got everything from investigation to research to acquiring the materials needed. Somebody had to find the bowls. Somebody had to look in the cupboards for the mixes and stuff like that and get a recipe on the internet, which was research and stuff. There was we got all the bases covered with the dramatic cake episode, Jay.
Now I got a question for you as far as skills go. Like I actually proposed this to my wife. I said, like, what would you think cooking would require more of? Like, there's not a specific cooking skill, I don't think, not in Savage Worlds especially. But what do you think cooking requires more of? Dexterity or intelligence, or agility or smarts in the case of Savage Worlds?
It's smart, because you don't have to know how to whip eggs. You can just
use a
blender, right?
Right. And you got to know how to read a recipe. I think it's just you do have to be more intelligent. I think I also, but if you're like doing some sort of like fancy sort of like the Japanese style, like steakhouse, the dramatic stuff, then it's definitely dexterity.
For sure, man.
But if you're doing French cuisine, if you're doing like, high end cooking or whatever, and a cake is, baking is, there's a lot of varying steps and all that. I think it's going to be more intelligence based too. So, well, yeah, if you're using common knowledge, that's the one to go with, man. You common knowledge, and then you got to do some you do some research. You got to pull out a research skill. You got to pull out if the blender breaks, you got to pull out the repair skill.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff you got to do.
Have you ever been to one of those Japanese restaurants where they cook everything on a big plate in front of you? Do you know what I mean? Like on a big hot plate?
Oh yeah, the hibachi grills. Yep. Yeah, the big hibachis. Yeah.
They start like flipping shrimp and you know what I mean, like chopping it in the middle of the air and cracking eggs on their little spatulas and stuff like that. That guy can't cook worth a shit, man. He's just making you some cheap ass shitty fried rice, but he's doing it with grace and style, right?
Yeah.
Making the little onion
Right.
ring volcanoes. You ain't no fucking chef. You're just a guy that knows how to cut an onion a certain way, stack them up, pour some oil in it, and light it on fire and not kill people. It's really that's a dexterous
That's where it's more.
mother effer.
Oh yeah, yeah. That guy might as well be. That my guy might as well be a knife fighter in a lot of senses too. If you think about it,
I would tell
you
you,
can
man.
spin knives that well. I'm sure he could probably stab you in the face. He'd probably be a good
Right,
ass rogue.
man. I'd never tell him he ain't no cook. That's for sure. Probably, you know what I mean.
Oh hell no.
He'd be like, "Watch this!" as he throws the knife up in the air, and then he punches it as it comes down and goes right into my face. I'm about to hijack your skill challenges thing here because, but no, actually, this is relevant. Except it's not a dramatic testing. Sometimes when I drive around in my truck, I spend many hours alone in a vibrating box, which kind of, explains my weirdness in a sense. I have to entertain myself. And I was thinking to myself today, dexterity or picking locks. Picking locks is not a fucking dexterity skill. It shouldn't be tied to that. And this is how you go about making or not having dump stats like charisma and D&D and stuff like that. You give them a purpose. But you know what I mean? Like, you can have some fat guy pick a lock, no problem. He doesn't have to be dexterous in order to pick a lock. What he needs to do is know how the lock works, understand the mechanisms behind it, and have the appropriate tools and a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for? Practice. Like, there's a guy on the internet, Joe the Lockpicking Lawyer, and you can watch this guy pick anything. And he explains how he does it and stuff like that, and he makes it look super simple. But I wouldn't consider that he's like a dexterous guy, but yet here we are in D&D associating it with dexterity and using intelligence for rogues as a dump stat. And I'm like, man, I just feel
well, they kind of fixed that with Pathfinder. From what I mean, dexterity and intelligence were the two skills that you wanted to have as a rogue because you needed it. The intelligence was going to give you more skills, and going to give you more skill points.
Well, that's interesting.
So, that at least as far as I can remember. But yeah, back to we'll dovetail this back to dramatic tasks though. Just real quick before we end this up because we're going to say we did this, and so that way we can put a pin in this motherfucker. But anyway. Yeah, the one thing I've really liked though is how that they used to be like these static numbers that they had, but like with the introduction with Adventure Edition and some other things, like I've seen this in Icons as well, where they start increasing the values where you can make it. If you expect somebody to like reasonably succeed at this test, like a skill challenge, it'll be like, okay, you got to net like 3 successes before you net 3 failures. Or sometimes they increase it a little bit to maybe 4 or 5, but you really see that with an Adventure Edition where they say, okay, this challenge, this is a reasonable challenge here. You only have to net, get 3, what is it? You got to get 4 successes, 4 successes before 3 failures or something, and then they have one where it increases to like you have to get 8 tokens before 5, and for 5 failures and whatnot. And I really like that, how they've kind of expanded on that and they made things a little bit bigger. And also too, with being able to support people and being able to assist and everything like that too, you can really just like, it's a good way to incorporate everybody into a scenario. Mm-hmm. And that's what I like.
I'm pretty sure when we did the Icons one with the pyramid tests and stuff like that, I think that's sort of the best explanation for dramatic tasks or skill challenges that I've seen, because it breaks it down into the types or styles of, which I think is pretty sweet. How hard is it going to be? What kind of a test is it really? Is it more of like a research test, or do you know what I mean? Like, I don't even really actually remember what they were. I just remember that I was very impressed with how Icons broke them down and showed you the different kinds of tests and how to apply them to your role-playing games. And now I have to go back and look at them again because I don't remember.
Yeah, no, they would tell like balanced if you want to make it balanced or if you want to make it more challenging.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, hell, I got it right here.
You got it dug up? So yeah. while you're looking at that and pulling it up and getting ready, this is where we're going to take the show, Jay. Over the course of the next couple of months, we are going to pick a thing inside, because we only do the show once every couple of weeks. Not only are we going to talk about new and cool stuff that's coming out, but the main topic or main segment part of the show is going to be build your RPG. If you could take the things that from the games that you like to play, like Stunts, for example, and the 3D6 mechanism from Age, perhaps the Bennies from Savage Worlds. But we're gonna pick one, like skill challenges. What system do we think does skill challenges the best, and how would we use them in our games? We're gonna start, I think, next week with traits. So we're, strength, intelligence, wisdom, charisma, dexterity, that kind of stuff. What system do you think has the best one? This is just a me and Jay thing. If you guys want to chime in, that listen to if Jason or Charles or Chuck, the three guys that listen to the show,
Chucky,
right? I mean, if you want to chime in,
Bell watches too, so we got to give it up to Bell.
Without a doubt. But I'm thinking over the next couple of months, we break down RPGs piece by piece. Just define. Do we like a what's it called when you whatchamacallit? I got to get that into a hit point attrition system, a wound system. How would you run your wounds, or how would you incorporate your damage? And I think that's what we're going to do over the next couple of months, Jay. For shits and giggles, we're going to sort of build our own RPG. At the end of each episode, we're going to take the idea that we like, and we're going to write it into a little book. And if we don't both die of IBS or some kind of heart attack before we finish this series, when it's all said and done, I think we're going to have the Jay and the Gary RPG.
Instead of IC RPG, it'll be IBS RPG.
I think I'm going to steal that name. Oh, and my God. So good you'll shit your pants.
We already got it. We're marketing geniuses, dude.
It's so good, it's guaranteed to make you crap your pants. That's good, Jay.
It's bowel shaking. Yeah. I have my moments.
Oh man. So yeah, I'm thinking that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start off the next one with like, what would you put in? What attributes would you put into the game? Which ones do you think? How do you?
Which ones do you?
Right.
Whether or not you want to use a modifier, or whether or not that these apply to different skills.
Right. We're going to do that. And I think that's what we're going to start. I think that's kind of exciting. And then when it's all said and done, we'll play a game in our proposed systems and see how shitty it really is in play.
There we go. There we go. That sounds good to me. The me and you adventure.
All right. Fuck this bullshit. I'm out of here. I'm going to smash this button. Outro bedliner. Wait a second. I think I might have it right, Jay.
Yep.
I'll even put it through so you can hear it.
Yep. There you go. I need my musical cues, man.
Right. I agree. All right. That's it for this edition of the Murder Hobo RPG Show. We hope you enjoyed it. And now that it's 2021, I'm going to change this because really I fucking stopped caring last month, to be honest with you. Oh, man. Get your vaccinations, you conspiracy theorist freaks. I did this last time, too, so we can start playing at conventions in person again. Hopefully by the end of the year, man. Did you know that there's this weird random percentile drop that happened over the course of the last, I want to say, 2 weeks, maybe? Like there was a worldwide drop in the number of new cases everywhere in the world. I'm wondering what happened to bring that along. Anyways, take it away, Jay.
Yep. So yeah, if you're interested in submitting 2 community questions so you can otherwise poke fun of us and not answer your questions honestly, you can do so at murderhoboshow@gmail.com. Otherwise, you can send your hate mail to not 4E.
Ooh, 4th edition getting some love. You can
it gets hate. Yeah. It gets hate. I figured I'd throw it in the pile.
You can also get us on Twitter at The Murder Hobo Show, on YouTube at The Murder Hobo Show, where I show you how to make 3-dimensional battle maps for role-playing in Tabletop Simulator. The best VTT, bar none. Better than Fantasy Grounds, better than Foundry, better than Owlbear Rodeo. I'm just naming names because I know that I'm going to hear about it in my chat group from people. You can watch me do this in The Murder Hobo Show right here, but be warned, there isn't a set time for the show. It's random. This is the part of the show where we ask you to go check out some of the content creating fellow network members, but because I showed up 30 minutes before the show, I didn't fucking prepare, so screw this part of the show. Take it away, Jay.
You can find the things we discussed in the show notes organized by most recent at the top over at murderhoboshow.podbean.com.
Man, there's going to be a big list of them because we did like 3-4 things a piece. We actually did
Yeah,
quite
exactly.
a bit. So,
Yeah, exactly.
man, thanks for listening. Be sure to tune in next time. We're going to have an action-packed show where we're going to talk about some stuff, some things, and some shit. Sound professional doing it. Have a great gaming week. We're out of here. Say goodbye, my sweet little Uncle Jason.
So long, suckers.
Hobo RPG Show is not affiliated with or endorsed by any companies mentioned on this show. Any of the products mentioned on our show or that appear on our website are the property and copyright of the respected owners. All items are used under fair use for educational and review purposes. All other items are the intellectual property of the Murder Hobo RPG Show, copyright 2021, all rights reserved.